Should you even start a business?
What kind of lifestyle are you looking to? Are you looking to be a one-man team?
People can make mistakes into what business that they actually want to get into because they don't play the tape until the end.
That if you're going to build a brand, build a business way, you're going to make less money for an extended period of time, and then eventually it'll pay off.
Come up with a crazy offer, say I guarantee results, sign up 20 clients, do 100K a month, 200K a month.
Welcome back to another season of Behind the Rise. As you can see, we're in this beautiful new studio. Place is pretty awesome. We're very excited about it. We got the highest quality mics, the highest quality camera, the best producers. We have everything we need here, so we're super excited about this season. So this season, we're going to do a little bit different that we did last season. So this is season 3, right? So we did two already. So we're going to do 3 style episodes. Number 1, the home team. You're looking at it right here, where we're going to talk about all different topics, which we'll get into in a minute. We'll do rapid fire Q&A, where Costa is going to rip off questions, which we need everybody to enter their questions in. Any questions you have about business, life, no politics. We're not going to do politics, even though we'd like to, but we're not gonna. And then we'll have special guests. So the layout for this year, we're going to try to do 2025. What is the blueprint for opening a business and running a business in 2025? So we're going to start with, like today's episode, we're going to start with, should you even start a business? And if so, how do you analyze it? What type of business do you want to own? So we're going to start with that. We'll talk about marketing. We're going to talk about operations. We're going to talk about scaling. We're going to talk EBITDA. We're going to talk margins. We're going to talk how to sell your business. We're going to get into all that. So we're going to lay that out for this season, in addition to sprinkling guests, Q&As, and all that. So today's topic is, should I start a business? Should I even start a business? If I want to start a business, how to look at it, how to analyze your goals. And the question is, should I even do it, right? So does anyone want to step in or want me to get the ball rolling?
You're the captain, so I'd say get the ball rolling.
All right, we're going to roll.
Yeah, you already did.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to start a business, right, I feel like people want just the evolution is to start a business, right? It's like you work for a company for a long time and everyone wants to just start their own business. But really what you got to look at is, what do you want to get out of the business, right? What type of business do you want to open? And I don't mean like, obviously if you're a plumber, you want to open a plumbing business, would be the business that you want to get into. But, what is the goal of that business, right? And there's three different styles that we'll get into, but go ahead.
What do you mean by goals? You mean like lifestyle?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, what is the best fit for you? Are you just trying to have time freedom? Are you just you don't want to work for somebody else, but you just want to do your own thing and make similar money, but not have a big team? Do you want to, grow a brand and a company? There's different pros and cons to each thing. So, there's different ways you got to look at it before you start, right?
Yeah, like you have to know what business you're getting into. So if you want like everyone right now wants to be like a nomad. They want to work on their laptop and they want to own a company like that, but you can't do that and open up a restaurant, for example. So like to your point, the business you want to open, if you want to match it to your lifestyle, there's certain industries and things that you can't do.
Right. Correct.
If you're looking to have that more nomad style lifestyle compared to that. So to your point, I think that's a huge thing, is what kind of lifestyle are you looking to? Are you looking to be a one-man team, a solo entrepreneur? You're looking to have a massive team? Are you looking to operate, have bigger expenses? Like, what does your risk look like? I feel like that is probably should be your step 1, is what is your lifestyle?
Exactly.
And how do you want to match that?
Exactly.
Secondly, and that's only for people who want businesses. I'm a firm believer that there's people who want to be entrepreneurs, but they're not. Like they just don't have it in them. Like you should be a W-2 employee and you work great and have your benefits, whatever. Like it's not a bad thing to have that route. My friend's mother worked at a Fortune 500 company. Now she's a massive executive, makes millions of dollars a year, but she's a W-2. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to discourage people to think like, if you're not an entrepreneur, it's okay. It's okay to accept that, and that's your role. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And there's different types of businesses for different types of entrepreneurs too. Like not
exactly.
It's not one size fits all. And
100%.
I think people can make mistakes into what business that they actually want to get into because they don't play the tape until the end, and they don't do this process that we're about to get into now, which is reverse engineering the process.
Exactly.
Right. So that would be step 1. It's like, what industry am I in? what business do I want to start? And you're looking at the end game first and then playing the tape backwards. And that will give you a better idea of what the next 2 years is going to look like, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly.
What your cash position is going to look like. Do you need any upfront? Are you not going to make any money for a while? And that whole song and dance. But it starts with the end in mind.
Exactly. So if you break it down, there's three like types of entrepreneur / businesses, right? It's a solo entrepreneur where it's just you,
as
me,
like a
myself,
service.
and I, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. What are some examples of that?
so a real estate agent,
Right.
a photographer,
Videographer, yeah. That
videographer,
Marketer even.
Yeah, like
What's
an
that?
online.
A marketer.
Freelance type.
yeah,
of
but
Freelance,
even that's so even if you're a real estate agent, right, or a photographer, there's ways you can go about it. You can go the solo entrepreneur route where you're just booking out your time and you're making more money per hour than you would if you were working for somebody else. But you're doing all your own scheduling, you're getting all your own accounts, you're doing all your own billing, you got to buy all your own equipment, so there's pros and cons to that, but you can also be a photographer and grow a large business, right? It depends what you want to do, right? And what sacrifices you're willing to make up front and, what you want for your lifestyle. If you just want to, hey, listen, I bill out, $100 an hour, for example, and if I do 5 bookings a day, an hour each, it's $500 a day. 5 days a week, that's $2,500 a
Right.
week. That's a hell of a living. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
that.
You get to create your own schedule. You can bend it around your life.
Exactly.
Those are the benefits of being a solo entrepreneur.
Right. So that's like one way to look at that.
Less headache.
Right. Then there's like a lifestyle business. If you use the photographer example as an example, right? If you wanted, I think you can be in a lifestyle business as being a photographer. The way that would work is you're not the one actually taking the pictures. You get another photographer that you train, like one or two people, and you essentially pimp them out, right? Your job is to get the sales, but you can do that kind of from anywhere.
Right.
You make some relationships and you schedule your people to go out and you make a margin on top of them.
Right.
That's a lifestyle business. Now, that same business, a photographer, if you want to grow a brand, a large business, now what you need to do is you need to hire a lot of photographers. You need to spend a lot of money on marketing. You're going to do a lot of money on training. And the risk reward, I think, is higher on that. But the risk, the big word there being risk, because now you have to not make money for a long time because you're reinvesting in. You have to probably get office space. You're going to need, insurance. You're going to need all the tons of equipment. You need to do recruiting. You got to do training. You got to do marketing. You got to do billing. You got to invest into all those things. But at the end game is you have an infrastructure that will eventually provide fruits for the long term, right? So that one business you can take 3 different approaches in, right? Or you could take the approach where you work and you're not going on your own, right? But as an entrepreneur, it's one of those 3 options, and you need to decide that in the beginning. And you can evolve from one to the second to the third. You start as a solo entrepreneur, you build up your reputation. You start getting accounts. Then you have too many accounts that you can't do yourself. Then you bring on a second person.
That's the most common route.
And then you go the way. But you have to know that if you're going the build a brand, build a business way, you're going to make less money for an extended period of time, and then eventually it'll pay off.
Yeah.
But the beauty of when that pays off is you have the cash flow that you're making, and if you build it in a way where it doesn't require your time every minute, where you could go away for a month and the whole place doesn't fall apart, now you have asset value in the business, right? You have, I can't think of the friggin' word. You have value in the enterprise value, right?
Yeah.
Where eventually somebody will come and buy your business and integrate it into their larger business or do whatever the hell they want with it. Or another person who's doing it and saying, oh shit, in order for me to get from here to there, it's going to take me 10 years. If I just buy this business, take out an SBA loan, whatever the case is, it's producing cash flow, and then you get the exit at the end of the tunnel.
I feel like it's most common that people will do that. They'll do their own work. They'll service out themselves until their cup is maxed. Like let's say their max capacity is like 10 clients a month. They hit that max and they're like, okay, I'm maxed out, but I want to make more money. What do I do? And then all of a sudden they start subbing out their work to someone else. They start so they'll make more. Then all of a sudden they start subbing out and they make less, but to propel themselves forward.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
proper way to
Way
go
to do
about
it.
That-
100%.
That's the way that it should be done.
Right.
And I think we see a lot of people that are trying to skip steps, which is
100%.
which is where people screw up. Like they want to have, the enterprise value in their business. They want to be just the one calling the shots and being the CEO and leading the charge. But you need to build up to that. You need to be a master at your own business. You need to be able to do every job within the business, understand all the nooks and crannies and the details and the nuances of your field. And then you build yourself up to a CEO type level.
Exactly. And those steps, it's impossible to skip those steps because you have to have done every job in the organization in order to then be able to be, the expert on it when there's an issue.
I think people's egos get in the way. Like they look at themselves, well, I am the CEO. I do own this business. I am this person. All of a sudden they have that ego that they could just skip those steps to like start subbing out right away. And all of a sudden they don't know how to do certain things, or they're not making money for a longer period of time because they don't have the demand of business.
There's also an issue with social media.
I was gonna say
You're seeing all the gurus tell you, like, they make it sound so easy. Like, oh yeah, all you need to do is just find a, C-Bum as a, your influencer, get a protein shake. You link up with him and now you're $100 million brand. Like, first of all, you need to have a reputation to be able to do that. You need to have the know-how.
The operational
You need to have
infrastructure.
the operational
Resume.
infrastructure. You need to have a resume. Exactly. Like, those things just don't happen overnight. And I think that's screwing up a lot of people because they think they can skip those steps and you just can't do it.
The other issue too is with social media is that you see people like on boats, planes, supercars, all that, and they think, okay, as soon as I own a business, that's where I'm going to be. But that's not the case. Those people, either one, they're full of shit and it's all fake, right? Which you see
Parents'
out there.
money or fucking
Right,
some other
that's
shit.
one way. But assuming they were a real business owner, they either have a massive business and they've gone through steps 1, 2, and 3, and they're on like the tail end of 3, or they've already had the liquidity event where they've capitalized on their on the value of the business, they sold it, and now they're living this type of lifestyle. A mentor of mine always said that, running a business is like being in purgatory. Right, so it's not.
It really is.
It's not like heaven where you're like total time freedom, total, like you have all the money you need, you have all the time in the world, you can do whatever you want. You can't do that when you own the business 100% because you're still responsible for everything. You're still running the day to day. You're still worried about payroll. You're still worried about keeping things busy. But it's not hell where you have somebody breathing over your neck, punching in lunchtime, like, this and that. Like that would be like the hell version of it. Purgatory, it's like this middle space where you're working, you're doing good, you don't have like a problem with anything, but that's owning a business. But then the minute you get to that like liquidity event or that next level, that's when it turns to heaven.
Right. That's the black belt shit.
Exactly.
That's like the true, master of your craft. You did it. That's like a true entrepreneur. That's their goal, is to build a company of value and exit, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again.
And then it's just a sport at that point.
Right.
You're just doing it for sport. You're doing it for passion and love for business,
Well, it was like Tom Brady at the end of his career. It's like he knew all the answers to the test. The game slows down for you, and you can see things more clearly. And you're not going to make
fun.
all those steps you made along the way, like in the first run, like the 10 years of hell, like building everything, like what you did wrong, what you did right, and now you can accelerate it on the second time.
Yep.
And the second time, either you have money to do things right from the beginning, or you can raise money more easily because you have a track record.
And your resume.
There's also like a storyline to that too. Like it's almost like if you like listen to entrepreneurs that are super successful, like the majority of them say like it was hell, it was so bad, it was the most painful thing I ever did. So it's like that's almost ingrained in like the head of like it has to be the fucking hardest thing that you've ever done in your life. But then you're like some people that are entrepreneurs that you listen to, even like super successful people that are like, yeah, everything was like it flowed nicely, like everything kind of fell into place.
I think people forget, dude. I don't even forget what the fuck we were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I also
Or
think
5 years
there's
ago.
certain industries and there's certain paths that are more profitable faster, that doesn't have that pain tolerance. For example, I talked to a friend of mine the other day at the gym. He started a new company about a year ago. He said he made more profit in his first 6 months of business than he did at 10 years at his other company. He does disaster restoration. He said the first 6 months of his business, he made tons of profit.
Hold on, though. But he's already had his own business for 10 years doing something different.
Right. But my point is, I've talked to people in the past who they've just chose a more profitable, easier industry. For example, going over a restaurant and
No, it's the worst fucking idea ever.
compared to compared to another industry
So is the
that's
restaurant owner.
more cash flow, that's less operational heavy, that's less risk, less barrier to entry to open.
Like an agency.
Right, like there's less barrier. So someone can start a business for 20 grand and make 600 grand the first year. Restaurant, you need to put a fucking million. Yes. 100%.
It's also social media. To Lucio's point, it's like literally social media. Like we've had people before that we talked to that literally like they kind of ran a business. It kind of looks like for 1 to 2 years, but all of a sudden they're teaching people like to do it. When really, like the secret with those people are like you can literally just bullshit and come up with a crazy. It's like a marketing like trick. Come up with a crazy offer. Say I guarantee results. Sign up 20 clients. Do 100K a month, 200K a month. Post it on social media. I did 200K months, and all of a sudden, if you want to do the same thing, shoot me a DM and join my coaching program.
I think if you polled 1,000
Right.
entrepreneurs and
Oh,
said
majority.
your first year, did you make $1?
No,
I
majority
would
no.
say 9,973 would say no.
unless you raised.
Even so.
Even
dude.
still, dude.
They
Even
burn it
still,
fast.
like okay, you're able to pay yourself a salary in the first if you raise the money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, you're able to pay yourself a living wage.
Or like a small.
Yeah, a living wage. That the difference is if you were to raise money. First of all, if an investor's giving you money, they're not giving you money to put it in your own pocket. They're giving you money to invest it into the business. Some of that money of small. Okay, what do I need to survive? You figure out I need $60,000 to survive. Okay, that's what I'm taking. Everything else has to go into the business. So the difference between if you raise is you can accelerate the growth faster because you have money to do it. So you can get out of the hell period faster, right? Rather than torturing yourself like a slow drip to the forehead, for a longer period of time, That's like the difference there. But I don't care what business you're in. Unless you're like fucking Zuckerberg or like one of these tech guys who they hit lightning in a bottle. It's like a tech AI thing. But for the 99.9% of everybody else, like this is the only path to go.
I have a question though there. I forget what law it is. It's essentially like Elon Musk is a big person of this. It's like if you give yourself 6 months to do something, it will take 6 months. So Elon's like,
Right.
all right, I'm gonna give you 6 weeks, and all of a sudden it gets done in 6 weeks. Tim Ferriss, who's like a popular podcaster, like flipped that to business. And he's like, if you give yourself like a certain amount of time or a certain salary, like you're always going to only do that amount. So like to your question there of like, you're taking, like for you guys specifically, if you're taking 60 grand a year, whatever it is in the business, like when do you know like to like actually increase that instead of getting like sucked in that trap of like to keep going, to keep pushing?
When do you know to increase it? I mean, you see your cash flow, right? Like you have to,
I mean, the way we always done it is we take a like market value for the salary for what we're doing in the business.
right.
Right. And then you take a percentage of profits or all your profits in distributions. So if the company makes money, then it's, between the owners or the founders or whatever, did we make enough that we could put some into our pocket? How much do we need to invest into it, like in the next quarter or 2 quarters or whatever? But it's all based on the health of the company. Like I think
And what the path is of the company. Like if you're not growing
Right.
anymore, you don't need to reinvest. Like, so at this point, like let's say at the end of the year, you made X amount of dollars, right? But this year we want to build out another, an addition on the place, for example. So we need to make sure we have the funding to do that, and then if there's anything left, we might be able to take it.
Hypothetically though, like if you're just, let's use $50,000, you're doing 50, you can live on $50,000 a
Yep.
year. When do you know that like, even when your business is cash flow and you're making good money, like how do you not get addicted to being like, I'm still going to live on 50 grand a year. Everything's going back into the business. Do you like see people do that?
Oh
or-
yeah, you're looking at them right here. I mean,
Yeah.
we're still like that. Like that's how, because you always think like, okay, if I take this, it's wasted money. Like I could put it back into the business, but at the same time, I don't long for anything either.
We live very minimally though. We lived very minimally for a long time, so I feel like used to it.
Yeah,
Like, we don't need much. We don't live like if we lived in Miami or something and lived that type of lifestyle. We would probably take a little bit more, but we're so used to living minimally because Dad ingrained in our
we're
fucking
also because
soul.
we're reinvesting all the time too.
Right.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Like because we're trying to grow. Because it goes to what your goals are, right? So we have goals for both of our major companies that we're the operators of, and the goals aren't to cash flow our way to wealth. The goals are to build them to a certain point, to make them very attractive to be purchased.
Right.
And then at that point, you'll see me on a beach in Aruba with a banana hammock on.
Right.
Right.
But that's a path too. I know
Ridiculous.
plenty of people that the partners or whatever, they split. One of my friends I know, they split their profit every month, and that's just, they keep the business lean. They take all the money out. They milk it as much as they can. They live a great lifestyle, and that's fine for them.
Exactly. Well, that goes back to the point of what are your goals?
Right.
You know, if your goals are just to make as much as you can in, you know, in whichever business it's in,
Right.
Your goals are different, you know, and also depends on the type of business. If it's not an operationally intensive business that requires new investment all the time, then you can take the money out because you don't need it for a new friggin' oven or a new van or a new building or a new warehouse, you know?
Right.
You're not, again, what's the goals of the business, you know,
Right.
and what's the type of business?
Right. And our goal is to get to, and what, you know, the higher level entrepreneurs' goals should be is to create a business of value. So at the end of the day, you can have an exit or a liquidity event, because that's how the wealthy really get wealthy.
Exactly.
Is when you can pull out $100 million chunk at one time, and then after that, you can do whatever the hell you want. So our mindset has always been, whatever amount of money we need to keep in the business to get to that place faster, that's what we're doing.
Exactly. But then that's like our goal. I think I was talking to Eric, and he was telling me that every single billionaire, there's not a single one that doesn't play like that game with businesses, you know?
Look at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
If you look at like his history, which I obviously have been looking into him more because he's like such a hot button topic right now. But he started with, was it PayPal was his first one?
Yeah, he had
Sold
something
it
else
for, like-
before, like a
There was
map.
something before. It was like an even smaller app.
was
But
a
he
map
sold that for
thing.
$20 million.
Yeah, something like
That
that.
was his first 20. But that was his first chunk play. Like he could have stayed in that business, and you can't cash flow yourself into wealth. Like that is, I guess, a route you can go. But to truly have like that type of money that you can be like 100% carefree and like generational wealth, you're shooting for that liquidity event.
Right. So then if you see what he did, I think it was like MapQuest or some shit first.
Yeah, I
something
can't
like
remember
that.
what the
It's
hell
like
was.
connecting restaurants or something. I don't know. It was
He,
like something,
it was something like that for like 20 million. Then he did PayPal, sold that for 160 million.
Right. He just kept leveling up every
Then
time.
he put every dollar.
Then he went all in on Tesla and SpaceX. I think at the same time.
he's also a psychopath too. Like,
No, he's crazy. Back to you brought up a point earlier, and I almost brought this up about Elon was we said like you need to know every part of the business. So at this point, Elon, or I don't know who said it, but Elon right now, I read this article about him that some guy who was following him was telling us his full-time job is he goes into each business every week and solves problems that nobody else can solve. So he just goes in there, whether it's like an engineering problem, an operational problem, a marketing problem. I mean, anything like a battery problem here, a friggin' rocket thing here, whatever the case is, a brain chip thing here, a satellite thing. He'll look at it because he knows every aspect of every single business. I mean, his work ethic is legendary. When he starts something, when he does something, he'll literally sleep in the office. He'll see every ounce of the operation from like the operational floor, like in Tesla, where they have all the where they make all the cars and everything. Every single robot that makes every single piece of equipment. That to the office, to designing the next car, everything. But he's like the chief problem solver. That's his goal. That's his job, and he does that across whatever 5 or 6 major companies, not like little dinks, major companies.
I think people don't really like realize, like, look deep enough into Elon Musk, because like most people, if you look at really Elon Musk, what he does, like he essentially is a pretty miserable person. Like if you look at him, he's like stressed to the max. Everybody's like, I want to be like Elon Musk, like that. And but you look at him, he's like most people are not even close to even like wanting to do any, like that's an like
No one
extremist
knows
level.
what it's.
Well, he's a special brain.
He's got a risk tolerance that you can't even believe.
Insane.
Yeah. Well, I watched that documentary on him. Like SpaceX was about to go out of business. And then they had that one launch that was successful, but that was either going to be you're out or you're in, you know? And he rolls the dice, you know? So that goes back to
Risk tolerance.
what type of business in your risk tolerance, right?
Right.
So you have to be able to be somewhat of a gambler, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're playing blackjack, you're never going to get hit big by just playing the floor the table minimum the whole time.
Right.
At some point, you got
I
to
proved
start.
that one out. I proved that one
Yeah,
out.
it's either you're going to be a slow bleed or you're going to be up like $100 over like a 4-hour period. You know, at some point you have to start putting your chips in, and those people either make it big or they make it
Not big.
or they lose right, which is very similar to business. And if you look at like the percentage, it's probably like 70 or 80% are on the losing end, and then the 20 to 30 go on the up and up. And the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who end up losing at the end is the ones who don't quit. Now, blackjack, bad example for that, like on the long term, because you need to know when to stop. But in business, it's if you stop and you quit, that's when you end up losing. It's people who end up fighting through those really hard times when you want to say like fuck this. That's when you normally.
But there's also a
breakthrough.
time I think in a business where there could be a time that like, you know what, maybe this doesn't make sense for me.
Well, you have to look at what the issue is. The issue with my product, you know, do I just have a bad product? You know, like, are we selling food that sucks? You know, like, you don't want to just jam something bad down people's throats. You know, like you have to look inside without an ego.
Well, the reason I said that is because Miss Perrina sauce, right? Miss Perrina sauce was the best product, number one product on the shelves. Mm-hmm. But what it took to build it after we understood it needed a ton of money, and the resources and the margins were end up being so slim. We had a conversation of, is this worth it or not?
Yeah, but there was also a flaw with that product. And there was a,
No, go ahead.
No, the packaging was fucking beautiful. But the cost of the packaging was the problem.
Yeah.
The problem with that business was we had to charge a certain amount of money, you know, like $12.99 a thing in order to be profitable. And the market wasn't showing that it would want it to buy it at scale. So in order for us to get sales, we had to do demos significantly. We had to spend money on marketing. We had to really show people the product in order for them to do it, which again required more investment. Now, if we go back in time and we kept going, we probably would have found a way through, but you needed to have the risk tolerance and the fight and the will to just keep investing in until eventually it either proved itself out. The market's going to speak one way or another, right? Once you were in 2,000 stores, it's either going to be selling through or it's not going to be selling through on the
Well, my
shelf.
point is, since it's such a new market, we pioneered this space. It needed more marketing. That's why I said we need more money. It needed more money to introduce the product
and
to the
to prove
masses.
that people were willing to buy it at that price point.
But Truff is a hot sauce. Mm-hmm. They charge astronomically more money, but people do it because they like the product and they branded themselves properly.
Yep.
The
It was a
product,
status symbol too.
yeah, I know, but our product had a Truff type of vibe to it because it was the best on the shelves, period, end of story. But we needed money to brand it that way, and we needed to invest dollars behind influencers, dollars behind Facebook, dollars behind certain demos.
That was just a learning curve.
It was just
right now. If we evaluated that whole thing and did this process we talked about and like played the tape till the end, what's the end game? Like how much money do we need capital? Like we would have never even came close to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we would have never started that if we knew. You
Yeah,
know,
unless or we said, okay,
No, we needed a ton of
let's say
money.
let's say we had the money, right? And we were looking at it from what we know now.
yeah.
It would be get into fucking as many stores as possible right away with a demo strategy, with a marketing strategy, with like an influencer strategy.
Right.
It would be approached differently. But because we were doing like the slow grow thing with that business and we didn't have the capital to keep reinvesting in and the sell through wasn't happening, we made the decision to cut the cord on it. It's just a shame because it was such a fucking good product.
The marketing strategy of that just like came to my head would be so fucking easy nowadays.
look-
You would literally just be in a kitchen, like QVC, like or something like
Well,
that.
we gotta
Kitchen
put-
being like with
Dude,
other
we were at
celebrity
QVC
chefs.
before QVC was QVC.
QVC offered us to be an exclusive,
I know.
so we should have done that looking back.
Oh,
but
that was probably the product was right for that.
they wanted 2 pallets.
But that goes to
start.
staying in it for
Yeah.
long enough too. You know what I mean? Like if you know that your product is good or your service is good, and you know just not giving up too soon until you find the right way to break through. Like we could have figured that out.
It would have been being gift baskets, and it would have been QVC. It would have been specialty home goods.
Influencers.
Would have been
Get
but-
like cooking influencers
But knowing
to
now,
use it in
looking
videos.
back, we would have got like Sebastian Maniscalco. We would have got all the Guinea influencers in New York. And that's
Influencers weren't even like big back then though.
no, but that would have been our approach.
Yeah.
Now we would have found
If
all
we
the
were doing
Guineas.
it now again.
All the Guineas. We would just get
I still
every
think we're
Italian.
gonna bring that back.
Like
at
what's
some
that
point.
kid out? What's the kid from
Nick
New York that I like?
DiGiovanni?
Nikki,
Dia Giovanni.
not him, the other one.
Cass.
Nikki Cass. Like we would get those guys, all the Guineas, and we had hilarious videos of them cooking with their parents. The Italian princess, the girl that has Nutre, like all that would have been it. But again, to do that, you needed money. You have to pay those people, and we weren't trying to play the money game. We were slim on money then, very very slim.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Even
Yeah.
I
if
was
you're-
doing deliveries. I was doing the fucking demos. It was miserable. I'm sorry.
I found a video on my phone doing a demo from what
Real
year
story.
was that?
Oh,
Real
no.
story.
Oh, no.
There was a pasta Fest. Every
No,
year.
Tomato Fest.
No, Tomato Fest. Every year on my birthday.
Every
and at the
fucking
time
year
I
it
was
landed on his birthday.
At the time it was the 27th, and at the time I used to go out a lot. So the night before, I would get buckled. I used to drink back then, just absolutely buckled. Wake up at like 6 a.m., hungover, couldn't even see straight, and have to cook sauce for people from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But the first time we ever did it, we sold like 300 jars. Do you remember that? The first year?
People loved it.
Me and Luke
We were
Tino
like, what
did it
the
every year.
fuck?
Were you there?
Yeah. Kidding me?
Yeah.
You came late.
I was conducting the orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
No, you came
I
late.
was supervising.
Steve
somewhere.
Jobs.
Yeah.
We came late. But I'll never forget, we were like, that was our proof of concept. We sold 300 jars in our first demo ever.
Yeah.
We were like, holy shit, people want this product. And they were selling it for at a premium. But that also came to show that we should have took that and said, we're only going into specialty places.
Yeah.
Market Basket's not going to sell. Stop and Shop's not going to sell. It's only specialty, high-end markets. Like that was our unique path.
Yeah. We made a lot of mistakes. We learned a ton from that.
Oh,
But we made a lot of good contacts. We learned everything about packaging, different vendors, distributors.
We could start when Nutra exits, or I was thinking about a couple months ago. What if we just did a run and gave it to our friends and family, like a Nutra gifts?
do you
Or
remember
like-
making the tops? Do you
Yeah,
remember making the
that's
things?
what
I was in the
I'm not doing
basement.
that.
In the basement, we had one heater, and if any oil went around the rim, it would never close.
Yeah, it wouldn't seal.
So it was me, Toby, the blind dog who got killed by a fox and no one knows how. And it was just sitting doing those fucking things for hours in the basement
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
why I don't
God.
think I would do that again.
with
Because of that
oil everywhere. Oh my God, what a shit show that was.
All right. So moral of the story: don't start a sauce company
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Well-
unless you got the fucking grit for it.
unless you're at Emerald or
You
something.
need money for that. You need money for inventory. It's a tough business.
That business to get into shelves with like in like grocery stores and stuff, you need a lot of money for inventory. You need a lot of money for demos. You need a lot of money for marketing,
Slotting fees.
slotting fees that we found out about. But
You
there's
can't go into that
workarounds.
broke.
Something we learned if you're a minority stake company. If you're majority owner in your company, slotting fees goes away.
Really?
Really?
That's a story. We don't want to go down that hole.
No, but that's
You're gonna
there
bra-
was
a
there was
brainstorm
workarounds.
tonight
I
about
remember
starting
that.
the sauce.
There was
company.
workarounds of
Huh?
certain.
So here tonight's gonna be y'all talking on the phone about starting a sauce company.
No,
Again.
but I wouldn't mind doing one run for the Holy
He
Ghost.
goes-
Stop.
No, not
he
to
goes
sell.
down
No,
to
not
this.
to
What
sell.
happens?
Not to sell. To gift for the best guests you have at the restaurants, for the best clients, and for like gifting.
I think you need a nice packaging with like your mom or somebody's face on it.
We
Because
did
my
have
mom's
our
face
face
is
on
on
it.
it.
Like a big.
have to
the
rebrand the
writing
whole
was
thing.
small. When I saw it.
Actually, no. The
I still have a
brand was
can.
fire.
No, the branding was awesome.
Yeah, I
The
forgot. I
packaging
was
won like
thinking
an award. You know?
I was thinking the original.
It did.
Did?
It got won some like best packaging award.
We also
because
got
of the top. I'm talking
No,
about
the whole
label.
thing. It was the whole thing, dude. It was
I
like
wanted bigger
it was
Einstein
a
made the
golden
thing.
nugget. We also had a
bigger
guy
text.
who's worked in the industry for like 70 years. He owned one of the biggest distribution companies. And he said our product was the only innovation in marinara sauce in the past 100 years. Do
That's an award.
you remember that guy?
Yeah, I remember that guy.
He's the guy who owned Chex.
Yeah,
Anyway, so it was a good product, but
it was good, but you know what? The decision we made though, and the reason we stopped. Well, I mean, you heard all the reasons we stopped, but we probably would have kept going. But at that time, we started Nutre.
Well,
We were like, all right, we got to do one or the other here because this is like.
and I was young and I had a lot of time.
Actually, hold on. The story we came when we came up with the name for Nutre.
At the hotel
we were at
at
a
the
hotel
Rhode Island
from
convention.
what was that thing?
It was a Rhode Island convention for the sauce.
Yeah, we were at a sauce convention. We were walking around the sauce convention. All these people have been doing it for like 30 years. Everybody was balding, miserable, miserable, broke, talking about like how terrible everything was. We were talking to everybody who's been in like the food industry, like
Yeah, I
selling
remember
food.
that. I remember the popcorn kid looked like he wanted to kill himself.
No, it wasn't the popcorn kid. It was that one guy who pulled me aside. He like Trump shaked me and brought me in. He was like, just don't.
He's like,
He's
get
like,
out while you
don't do
can.
it. He's like, just get out. He's like, you're too young. Don't do it. It takes too much.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh yeah, that was the hot sauce guy.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy was a miserable fuck. That
Yeah,
guy.
miserable. Oh
So,
my God.
When we went back to the hotel room because we had talked about Nutre, I don't think we started doing any food yet. But
No,
we were just talking.
I got meal prep from another company, a girl, and I was eating it with my friend, and I told him about it, and then Angelo immediately shit on it. He was like, "There's no way it'll make
That's
money."
questionable.
No, he said, "No, there's no way it'll make money." He said, "No, what you said was you'll make a bunch of money in the beginning, but then as soon as you got to start reinvesting into the stuff, we're gonna make no money."
Yeah, so I was right about that.
Yeah. So then
What else is new?
we were sitting at the hotel, that night, 3 of us in a room.
And
Because
came up
we
with a name
couldn't
and
fucking
everything.
afford the,
We were all in one room.
all in one room. So it's 3 of us in a room. I was on a cot. They were on the bed. Or you guys were both on beds. I was on a cot.
Standard.
And then the name came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, so that's. But then I think it was like 2 or 3 months later, we were like, all right, it's done. We're pulling off. We're pulling out.
Yeah. It was too much, dude. I was doing the deliveries. The margins were so small. I mean, it was a fucking nightmare. But anyway, to your point of like lessons and stuff, like you really need an appetite, a financial appetite and really a gritty appetite to get into that industry. When you get into it, you have to be, it's a long game. You're not going to make a bunch of money unless it's influencer stuff.
If we did this analysis going into it, it's like, what is the end game? The end game should have been to not to cash flow to make like profit to live off of.
Right.
It was to reinvest in order to get to a certain amount of scale,
Right.
and then eventually sell to one of these larger companies.
Yeah.
But we weren't thinking that way at that time. We were thinking just to like,
Cash flow.
how to
Well,
make some
money.
money.
But what we also liked, I remember, was there's a lot of acquisitions in that space. Products and grocery. There is
Well,
acquisitions.
Rayo's just got sold for like a couple of bees. I
Yeah,
heard.
that's what I'm saying. So there's
Yeah.
a ton, and there's a
Little
ton.
bean bags.
Truff got
They were just starting the same time we were.
no,
No.
they were around way
A
longer.
little bit longer, but
No,
not
you're
that
thinking
much.
Michael's of Brooklyn. Michael's of Brooklyn were on the shelf with head and head all the time.
No, we were head to head with all
Yeah.
three, but the other Rayo's is is a restaurant
Restaurant in
that's
New
been
York.
there for like 100 years, and they basically leveraged their name, and
Right.
then now, but also it also helped build their. I mean, their sauce was good, and
Yeah,
it still
it
is good, right? And their stores, I think, become more popular, like legendary over it.
Carbones, it's the same, same path.
Exactly. So we just try to do a brand new brand like cold, right?
Looking back, if we were to do it again, I think I
Should have
would
been a Toscana brand.
should have been Toscana brand, or B, if you're gonna brand something new, I think I would have done an influencer brand. I would have had an influencer pool of equity with all those guineas we were talking about, because if we were tight on money, to try to push the equity game on an influencer, to try to push it out.
You could
to
even
the masses.
still do that even if you weren't tight on money, just to like expedite your growth. Like a lot of people like today are like just like partnering with influencers.
But
just because
the pitch
they
would
have
have been
eyeballs.
tough because we didn't have really a resume. Like the resume would have been tough to
the
pitch.
part.
No, the only resume was I was Italian and weighed like 430 pounds. That was
Yeah,
it.
legit. Yeah.
So this guy
Must
knows
be
sauce.
good. Yeah.
It must be good.
Proof that we ate. That was
Yeah, exactly. Proof that we know how to eat.
Yeah, that was it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of lessons learned there. A lot
Yes.
of banging your head. I mean, that was a 2-year process.
No, it was longer than 2 years, wasn't it?
I remember, yeah.
I remember we tried
to
to patent the fucking cup.
We patented
we-
the design, but we didn't
We tried to
patent
patent the cup labeler on the top. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
The
I have
thing.
a jar. I was gifted a jar. You gave me one.
what I
yeah,
do,
but
I
no,
give
you got to
things.
see my designs that we submitted for the patent.
That thing's like still pending somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we still have patent.
you have like
pending.
royalties out of nowhere, just like somebody's like using the tech.
Exactly.
So stupid.
Pioneers of sauce.
So basically, step one, if you're looking to, going back, if you're looking to start a business, or you're looking to be an entrepreneur, or you want to, you're working right now, or you're thinking about leaving your job and to start your own company.
Don't. That's one thing I want to say too. Like
Go ahead.
about leaving their job. Like, when you were mentioning that before, I'm not gonna give the person as the example, but there's multiple people that I've known throughout my life that have done this, that have worked a job, like a normal W-2 job at a company, bigger company, made a nice salary, crazy benefits, all this stuff, perks, work from home, all this, and they think like to start a business. And it's like this idea that it's going to be like this easy fest and stuff like that with cash flow and make a ton of money. But like, there's no joke of like the big American corporations. That stuff's addicting. And there's like, it's honestly like not a bad. I
not
think
a bad
now it's a
gig.
joke.
No.
It's a joke now. Not I would say a joke, but it's like, I mean, you're working from home. You're making like these kids are like out of college,
Vacation
150,
pay,
200K.
They get a car and shit like that.
Food.
No, there's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of what you want out of life, right? That's why step one is figuring out what you want out of life. Do you want job security? Do you want benefits? Do you want, 3 weeks vacation a year? Do you want 401k, all that shit from your business? There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely zero wrong with that. Or do you want to take a risk and go on your own? And then if you do want to go on your own, what is your plan? What is the goal that you need to? And it starts with what you want out of your life, not just financially. Like, what do you want your life to look at? If you look at yourself in 10 years or 20 years from now, what do you want it to be like? And then you reverse engineer and go back. Do I want to be a solo entrepreneur? Do I want a lifestyle company? Or do I want to build a true business with a brand, right? Each has their own pros and cons, which we went over. And, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of what industry you're going to be in, what your risk tolerance is, what you want your life to look like. Are you willing to make sacrifices? Do you want to go to all your kids' games? Do you want to be super mom or super dad? Or do you want to be able to do, or you're going to have to make sacrifices, period, end of story. I don't care what anybody says. You have to do it if you want to go the bigger route. But there's no right or wrong answer. You just got to look at yourself and decide which way you want to go.
It's honestly like not a bad idea. Even too, like I did like a video the other day about this of like the idea of working a 9 to 5 for like say like 5-10 years, and say it's like marketing, for example, whatever field it is, gaining a shit ton of experience and then starting a business. That's honestly like a cheat code like now too.
Well, you know what the problem with that? Well, not a problem with that. That's like a good path to go. The problem is if let's say you've worked 10 years or 15 years for a business, then you want to go on your own. Chances are you're older now. You have kids. You have a mortgage. You have more risk. You have more. Your risk tolerance needs to be higher, right? So either you have enough money saved where you can risk that money saved to go on your own, or your significant other is making enough money that can support the downtime when you're going out to start. But that is a less attractive path for people when you're at that point. If let's say you're 35 or 40 years old or whatever, and you have 3 kids, a mortgage, and all this shit, you need to really have conviction on what you're going to do.
Yeah.
To risk all that.
I was more saying like out of college. If you get out of college, like even like every like kids wants to be like an entrepreneur, but like you can like learn if you're out of college, like go work a 9 to 5 for 5 years. Who says you can't like stop and like
If people
start a
say your
business?
side hustle turns into your full hustle, like they'll work 9 to 5, and on the weekends they do their stuff until their side hustle takes over their main hustle. I mean, that's very common. I see that all the time.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it again, it depends on and how much. What are your living expenses like?
Live at home, dude. I mean, people are so fucking eager to get
I would
out.
move back in my mother's house if she
You
would
move
take
fucking
me
home.
right
Graduate
now.
from college, live from home for 4 or 5 years, save all your money. Because what happens is people, they graduate, they're in fucking crazy debt. Then they make, $6,000 a month and their rent's $3,000 or $2,500.
No.
They're going out every night and they make no fucking money.
Me and Lucho moved back home.
I did too. It's
As
the
soon
fucking
as-
best thing ever.
As soon as we got into the restaurant business and we realized we weren't going to make any money at all,
Yeah.
we were like, okay, this is before we bought the restaurant. We were like, all right. I remember sitting in the basement and being like, okay, all we need to do is just come back once a quarter to collect the money. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
business plan. And then after like 1 month in, we were like, all right, this is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And first thing I did, I was living in an apartment with my friends. I moved back home. So we were in the basement. Lucho lived in one room in the basement. I lived in the other room in the basement. Then we got girlfriends at the time. They ended up moving into mom's basement. We used to share the shower in the basement. And I think we did that for like 7 years?
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother topic right there.
Yeah.
Part of what your goals are and stuff like that, involves your significant other and what they're willing to commit to, like that. Who you choose for a partner has a lot
that's
to do with
big.
and can control the direction of where things go.
Big, big, big.
Yeah, that's a massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most important question. There's like, I remember watching a clip. There's like an old billionaire who's just like number one. I feel like a lot of people are just like, that's their thing. Like
You
looking
pick the
back.
wrong spouse, you're fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and if you meet your spouse at the right time, if you're lucky enough to meet them at the right time in life, and they know what your goals are and they support you, they're willing to eat shit for the same amount of. They have to be willing to.
Yeah,
eat
they're not
shit.
asking you for a.
No, they're not
for a
asking
car
for
or a
vacations,
house, yeah.
cars, all these fancy things. When we're in the building phase right now, like I can't do any of that. If you want that, go find Don Juan
Yeah,
somewhere.
go. Yeah.
That's almost better though, I think.
It is
doing
better
that,
in the
'cause
life. You make it through that
'Cause you
period
find the
together.
right-
At the
you
end,
find the
you
right-
appreciate
because
it.
they're
find the
there
right
for the right
girls.
reasons. Like,
Right.
like,
When you get them before. Exactly.
when
They
you're-
grow
that's
with
why like
you.
celebrities are like they don't have no friends. They're just like, I don't know, this person just wants my money and
Right.
fame, or
Imagine
they
that.
actually like
That would
me.
suck.
Yeah, imagine dating as like a billionaire or something, or
I'd be fine with it.
dating as like a.
I
making
mean,
a
that's kind of like
let's
okay.
be
You
honest.
know why I'm here. I know why you're here. It's fine.
but
Yeah,
like
there's
for
no-
love, not for like transactional value, for love.
Angela's always trying to do a deal. I feel
Yeah,
like-
Yeah,
but
no, it's
like-
like we know why we're here. Let's cut to the chase. Let's
Okay,
get
if you're
it
trying
going.
to
I'm
find
going to pay you
love-
a certain amount of money, and you're going to be looking good next to me all the time.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
what's happening.
that's what that's like the new Miami. I made $10 million. Like that's my vibe. But if you're trying to find someone who like loves you for you, it's hard, dude. How the hell are
Yeah,
you
well,
gonna
at
find
that point, you don't give a shit.
No, if you're so rich, you don't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
you don't give a shit anymore at that point.
I hope not. I mean, I hope it. Yeah.
But that's an episode for another. That'll be like a sneaky episode we might not release. We'll have to watch it first.
All right, what
Yeah.
else is on here?
One thing
That's it.
too, I think you forgot about though, in terms of the entrepreneurs, like the different. I realized is the different types of businesses too. We didn't say entrepreneur, but we had solopreneur, lifestyle business, and build a brand. But there's also another. Not when you're not an entrepreneur, the whole idea of being like an intrapreneur, like that's a whole nother thing. Like for example,
You solopreneur or entrepreneur?
The fuck is that?
Yeah, that's a what is
what's
that
an
mean?
intrapreneur?
Yeah.
Intrapreneur is like a person that's like operates like an entrepreneur, but they don't actually like own like the majority of the business. They're not like fully started it from scratch, but they operate in the business more like
Like a partner?
yeah, like more like a part like Hormozy's company. Like their whole thing is like we try to hire entrepreneurs and people that can like be creative and have their own business within ours and feel like they're not just like an employee. Like Steve Ballmer from Microsoft, worth $70 billion. He didn't found Microsoft. He was the CEO, but he like wasn't the word for that is an entrepreneur. Someone that's like still takes a lot of that, but doesn't take like that full risk.
Yeah, that's an absolute path. Like, I mean, not everybody can be a number one, you know, like a really good number two or number three have tons of value. And that ends up paying off, you know, in the long term, as long as you're on the right boat, you know? And
Rowing on the right boat is the important part there. And as an entrepreneur, to get a good intrapreneur, you need the right vision and you need the right boat. Like,
Right.
I don't think you can find good number twos and threes if your vision isn't good and if your boat is not.
yeah, you need to be a good enough leader that you're attracting the right people and you're explaining your vision properly. But again, that goes to like the brand building, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing that like as a lifestyle brand or being a solo entrepreneur. That those entrepreneurs are found in like
Big companies,
bigger
right?
companies, right?
Yeah.
with bigger visions. and
Andrew
bigger
Tate actually said, it was actually Andrew Tate's like friend said that. He was like, the guy, I think his name's Justin Waller, was just like, they asked him like, why didn't you like start your own thing or do something similar to like Andrew Tate in that realm? And he was like, well, like I saw Andrew and like his brother Tristan were like going down this path, had this vision. I was like, I'm not going to go start my own thing. I'm going to join forces with them and grow even
Latch
bigger.
onto that wagon, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean that saves a lot of fucking time. That's for sure. Like, it saves a lot of headaches. You're jumping in. You start learning things so fucking fast. You know, in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
All
that's
right,
it.
so we wrapping up.
I think so.
Wrap it up.
It's enough.
All right, so we're wrapping up. That's episode 1, season 3, episode 1.
A lot
Hope
of
you guys
fun.
enjoyed.
A lot of fun guests coming down the pipe. Excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good season.
All right.